Episode number 43 of Making the Case. What you need to know about serial dating. Let's get it. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Making the Case. I am your host, Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur, content creator, a little bit of everything. Hey, we got another episode for you. Hopefully we inform you like we always do. So well, before I get into my opening statement, I always want to rush and get into things. We got to go over our two channel norms, of course. One, we attack points and not people. And then two, we don't do all the cussing and derogatory stuff. We leave that to other people to do that. We like to keep it professional. Okay. So today's episode is what you need to know about serial dating. So let's get into my opening statement. Now, often we like to talk a lot about how dating has changed. How people will say there's pee in the pool in the dating market, and men don't court women anymore, and this whole list of things about how things are different. But I always say it's supposed to be different. When times change, people change, right? That's how culture goes, right? If we look at the course of our history, we can see a number of things that's changed, and it's not just dating. Okay. So I don't think we think that deep into it when we talk about dating. Of course, with the advent of social media and the online presence, that's changed dating a lot. So dating is supposed to change. And with that, serial dating has changed. Now, I do believe that let's say 30, 40, 50 years ago, people didn't really have the access to serial date. So it's not that people didn't want to. I don't think they had the access like that, right? They didn't have social media. Most people stayed within their vicinities. Most people don't travel outside their city, let alone their state. So they didn't have accessibility like that. So serial dating is not that people probably didn't want to, it just people didn't know have the how to, right? So of course now with the advent of social media and inflation and things of that nature, people are making a lot more money. So now dating is just a thing now, right? So what you have to understand is that men typically have always serial dated. And it was the women who kind of stuck their hooves in a man and claimed them, and that was about it. But now you got both men and women who are serial daters, right? You got a lot more women being vocal saying, "Yeah, I got a roster too." All right, which I've already did a video on why that's not a good thing. Please go check that video out if you haven't. But um, that makes it in and of itself more challenging as well when you get men and women both serial dating. Because if you're serial dating, one has to question whether or not you're serious about being in a committed relationship. All right. Now you may be saying, well, I'm dating until I find that one. But even with that mentality, that mindset, you're constantly going to be picking and choosing, being nitpicky. Like, I don't like that person. Um, Let me find somebody else. Or I like this out of him, him, him. That's why I got three or four people. Like, it actually keeps you from finding something serious, right? And I would say both men and women both. So in this episode, what we're gonna do is we're gonna address what serial dating is, how it could possibly affect your life and your future long-term mating strategy, and just talk about serial dating in general. Okay. So I would say that maybe I'm gonna make a case at some point in time with the piece of evidence that I have, but this episode more so is to kind of show you the positive and negative of serial dating, let's just say. Okay. I would say I'm kind of neutral on this, but then again, we'll see. All right. We'll let the evidence speak for itself. Okay. So, of course, I got three pieces of evidence. Without further ado, let's just get straight into it. All right. So, for my first piece of evidence, we're just going to address what serial dating is, and kind of give a little background to maybe why people serial date in the first place. I'm pretty sure every individual has their reasons, right? I think there's some similarity into why people serial date. So let's just address it. Let's go over it. I have a more like a blog. Yes, absolutely a blog from a young lady by the name of Rachel Russo. And so we're gonna go over this and see what she has to say about serial dating. See if we agree, disagree, how we feel about it. All right. So let's get into it. A serial dater, as per Urban Dictionary, is commonly defined as one who engages in the process of systematically dating an obscene amount of people in a short span of time. That's an interesting definition. Okay. So this definition says that in a short period of time, you date a lot of people. I'm thinking of a serial dating who just someone who just date all the time, and the period of time doesn't matter, right? To me, a serial dater can be a person who's dating for years and don't find themselves in a committed relationship. Um, I would add that on, but hey, to each his own. Chances are you know a serial dater or two, especially if you live in a big city. Perhaps thanks to dating apps like Tinder and online dating sites like Match.com, you are even a serial dater. If so, reading this blog post might even feel a bit like looking in the mirror. If you are wondering if you are dating a serial dater, don't worry, there will be plenty of clues. Typically in text like this: I know this is last minute, but plans for tonight canceled. Would you want to grab dinner? That's funny. As you imagine, being a dating and relationship coach as well as a matchmaker in New York City for almost a decade, I've encountered plenty of serial daters. There was even a time that some might have considered me a serial dater, but I really wasn't. Sure, I went on 92 dates and blogged about them as Miss New York of 3ish by 5dates.com. But in reality, I was just acting as an investigative journalist doing a social research experiment. And, just being a girl looking for a boy to love her. So now that we've got that cleaned up, allow me to share three truths I've observed about people who date a lot. It's funny. So she was doing an experiment by dating a whole bunch of people, and she didn't care. Oh, let me not judge. Okay. Anyway, disclaimer: these truths don't necessarily apply to all serial daters. However, from my experience, they apply to most. So don't kill the messenger. I'm just relaying the message I observed. Serial daters have got issues. We've all got issues, and daters are no exception. Most serial daters are trying to fill a void. Whether they feel empty because they haven't found anyone to replace a neck, are terribly lonely, or just bored at work. They date to distract themselves from their pain. And if they don't feel any emptiness, well, they are usually either commitment phobes, people who are unrealistic about the dating process, or perfectionists chasing after a relationship or person that doesn't exist. Of course, many serial daters are in denial about all of these issues, which is in itself a whole other issues. I would say, I think all three of these issues she's touched on definitely are a reason why people serial date. I think the biggest one, and in particular for men, is that not that they have commitment phobe, is that well, if I'm committing to this person, I'm committing my time, resources, etc. to this person. And what will I get back in exchange? So is it even worth it? So I think from a male point of view, it's not about a fear of commitment. It's a fear of, if I choose the wrong one to give my resources to and possibly marry this person, and I marry the wrong person, I can be in a whole heap of trouble. So it's different for men and women. I would say that's probably the number one thing. And of course, some men out there are commitment folks, and some women, right? They like the thrill, and I think that's something she didn't touch. Maybe she gonna touch on another one. The thrill of just being with new people and around new people. I think people like. So, uh, Serial daters don't take any one person seriously. The culture of modern day dating provide singles with more date options than they could ever really need. Serial daters are overwhelmed by those options and often won't make plans until the last minute for fear that something better might come along if they do. Serial daters think having all these options is good and normal. I don't really blame them because these days it seems like nearly everyone has the potential to become a serial dater. Even Andy Cohen is on Tinder. If you don't know who Andy Cohen, I think he's the guy on is it E Network, something like that. Anyway, that touches on what I just said, right? On the fact that it's like so many options out there. It's like, man, like I want to experience this, that. Like when you go to a buffet menu, right? It's like, man, it's all the I want a little bit of sample of everything, right? And now I think you're starting to see more women do that, and that's why they getting into the serial dating game, right? It's like, dang, like I want to get my experience with different men before I settle down. Like you hear a lot of women are waiting till their 30s and 40s before they settle down because of career and because they just want to date and have fun. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, it's happening. It's upon us. Okay. Um, Nugget of truth: people who go on a half a dozen or more dates per week are usually more caught up in dating for sport than dating to find real love. Serial daters are consuming so much quantity that they fail to see the quality right in front of them. This is why they want to meet you after exchanging 3 text messages. This is why they text you instead of calling you in the first place. This is why they have exit strategies for their first dates, the drinks and dinners and brunches, which hardly ever lead to seconds. Okay. That's a strategy for some, I guess. I think some people just don't mind dating a couple of different people for as long as it allows, because I always say most people are short term, right? Most people, whether it's friends, partners, business people, etc., they're short term, right? They're only going to be in your life for a short period of time. So serial daters aren't so nice when they don't want to see you anymore. Not only does the average serial dater lack the time to respond to all the messages in his or her dating site inbox, he or she doesn't even have the energy to stick out a date that they aren't feeling. That's right. The serial dater is the person who will think nothing of cutting a date short. They are dating to make friends, so don't be surprised if they don't want to stick around when they aren't feeling romantic chemistry. They don't feel like the one they don't feel like they owe you an explanation afterward either, so you can forget about the post date thank you text. They certainly won't tell you why they won't be going out with you again. They dating so many people who've never told them this, and often makes them bitter and jaded. Dating rule number 989: the more you date, the more jerks and crazies you account. I mean, that's just simple math, right? So serial dater wonder why they should be nice to you if they don't want anything to do with you. After all, to the serial dater, whatever you shared was just another meaningless date. Cue to the fadeaway. I would say, to be honest with you, this more so a woman thing, to be honest with you. I think if women always talked about having a connection, right? A vibe, chemistry. So if a woman is not feeling that, there won't be no second date. She might cut the first date off. I think guys are more courteous, in my opinion, about if they're not feeling you, they'll still be nice to you. And now they might ghost you. I'm just gonna be honest with you. They might ghost you. Or they may send you a text and be like, I just want to feel it. Right. Both men and women do it. It's just the approach is different. All right. Let's see. And yeah, that's it. So actually, I thought this was a pretty good article of, speaking on um serial dating, and kind of the reasons why people serial date. I think they were spot on. Um, but I will say the biggest reason why people serial date is because they like the options. And commitment is a big thing because they feel like, I'm going to date until I find, I don't want to say the perfect person, but until I find most on my list, right? I always go by the 80-20 rule, right? So if I get 75, 80% of what I'm looking for, I'm in there like swimwear. Okay. You're never gonna find 100%. I think everybody understands that. But serial dating definitely has changed the dating game. It definitely has, particularly now with women that subscribing to it, right? Now that's why you're seeing people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s on dating sites, right? But then complaining about how the dating market is trash when you still on it because you looking for this perfect person that doesn't exist. So it kind of is what it is. All right. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna head over to our second piece of evidence. This is gonna be more scientific based. I think you'll love it though. All right, let's get into it. All right. So for my second piece of evidence, what we're doing, we're going to a research article. All right. Um, and we're just pulling up one study that has been kind of done about serial dating. Actually, they did it with college students. So this is from the journal called Personality and Individual Differences, volume 233, February of it says February of 2025. I guess that's when it's slated to come out. So um and the study is called A Preliminary Comparison of Serial Daters and Multiple Daters on Their Evaluation Strategies, Dating Goals, Perceptions by Others. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the abstract to you to discuss the discussion and conclusion because of course with research articles they can get pretty lengthy and I'm not going to read the whole article to you because that spans several pages, so I just want to read the conclusions, kind of what they found in this research article that they did on serial daters. So let's get into it without further ado. I do want to read the highlights. People differ in how they approach the task of casual dating and partner selection. I would say yes. Serial daters date one person at a time. Multi daters date multiple people at once. So they're making a distinction between people who are serial daters and multi daters. Actually, I've never heard of multi daters, but it makes sense for you to distinguish the two. Both daters appear to be similar in how they evaluate potential partners. Multi-daters have a more unrestricted social sexual orientation than serial daters. Multi-daters are perceived as less ready to commit than serial daters. That makes sense, right? Multi versus one makes sense. This is the abstract. The topic of how many potential partners one should casually date at the same time has been widely debated among the general public. I would say so. Definitely, very recently, we've been talking about a lot about serial dating because, like I said, women are starting to talk about it a lot more because they're doing it a lot more. Serial daters are those who only date one person at a time, whereas multi daters are those who date multiple people at the same time. Despite the fact that these dating approaches appear to play a major role in the partner selection process, differences between serial daters and multi daters have not been studied empirically. Interesting. As such, the current research presents the first investigation of potential differences between serial daters and multi daters regarding their strategies for evaluating and selecting potential partners. Individual differences related to their dating goals and how they may perceive by others on a dating market. The results of two studies. So the total known participants was 460, which is a very large number, revealed that multi-daters have a more unrestricted social sexual orientation and may experience more decision difficulty than serial daters. Furthermore, serial daters are perceived as more genuine, intentional, and interested in commitment. It's interesting. So they say that serial daters are interested in commitment when the last piece of evidence say that not really. That's interesting. Whereas multi-daters are perceived as less trustworthy and more interested in casual or sex-only involvements, which I say serial daters could be interested in the same thing, but you know. However, serial daters and multi-daters did not differ significantly in their evaluation strategies, nor in their implicit theories, commitment readiness, or general maximization tendency. So let's go to you see what I'm saying? See how long this is? Yeah. I could definitely send this to you if you would like to read more. Oh, yeah. Here you go. We're going to get into the discussion and conclusion. From television shows and blog posts to podcasts and social media platforms, the topic of how many people to date simultaneously before settling down has been widely debated among the general public. Given the apparent importance of the quantity component of casual dating in contemporary society, I conducted the first empirical investigation of serial dating and multi-dating to understand how people adopting either dating approach differ in their evaluation of potential partners. I think this should be studied more for sure. It's crazy that this was the first research, and I'll be curious to see. And what he's saying is this is the first one of looking at serial daters and multi-daters. I'll be curious to see if there are other studies on just talking about serial daters in general. I'm pretty sure there is. So the conclusion. The current research presents the first empirical investigation of serial dating, casual dating at one person at a time, and multi-dating, casual dating, multiple people at the same time approach to partner selection. Across two studies using the self-reporting and experimental design, no evidence was found to support the prediction that serial daters and multi-daters differ in the process by which they evaluate and select potential partners. However, the two approaches do differ in that so they kind of just left it off right there. Actually, I do want to read a little bit of the introduction. Just a little bit. I promise. Just a little bit. Yeah, this first paragraph, actually. It is well established in the field of psychology that close interpersonal relationships are of paramount importance for both psychological and physiological well being across the lifespan. This is very true. Um, and for many adults, this includes healthy romantic relationships. Thus, research pertaining to the process of romantic relationship formation is crucial for our understanding of how and why people choose their partner, as well as our understanding of whether certain casual dating strategies and behaviors can predict better or worse future relationship outcome. In fact, scholars have advocated for more basic research that can inform selection-based inventions for evaluating and choosing better potential partners during the casual dating phase, as the period of time after initial attraction yet prior to establishing exclusivity is particularly understudied. To date, the most extensively researched aspects of partner selection has been ideal partner preferences. Indeed, there is a vast literature exploring the various attributes people deem desirable in potential partners and the extent to which these preferences can predict actual partner choice and relationship outcome. But the thing about this is, I think it's very frivolous how we're picking our partners, which is the reason why a lot of people are going back on the dating market, right? Like we keep saying that, or to be honest with you, we don't say enough that I'm looking for things money can't buy. I'm looking for loyalty, respect, appreciation, support, love, care, honesty, communication. Like we understand those things are important, but we don't lead with it. And even we do lead with it, it's a lie because we go back to how tall they is and how much money they make and what they drive. Do they? Some people are saying if you don't got a home, I'm not dating you. Like this is the stuff we talking about. So I imagine that's in the research that they are talking about. We're just gonna read a little bit more because that's interesting. I would say. However, less attention has been allocated to the actual experience of dating and the process by which daters decide whether to continue pursuing a potential partner. One aspect of the dating experience that has yet to be investigated empirically is the number of potential partners and individuals concurrently involved with, as some people choose to date only one person at a time, whereas others prefer to play the field and keep their option open. As such, the current study contributes to the partner selection literature by presenting the first basic. Yeah, we kind of already mentioned that. All right, so this was an interesting study for sure, but I think it just brought out, to be honest with you, what we kind of already knew, right? That people who date multiple people at the same time, they're probably not committing no time soon. Whereas someone who's dating one person at a time could be generally looking to get to know somebody and want to find love and marriage and all that stuff, right? So, I mean, the results of it is not shocking. But the crazy thing is of what I mentioned is that the things that we're really looking for in a person is that's what we got to clean up. All right. Because to be honest with you, whether serial date or multi dating, I think people are really looking to have fun. Women always talking about I love to travel. Like they would love for a man to take them on trips, and a commitment doesn't have to be involved. A man can buy them a purse, and a commitment doesn't have to be involved. We having sex with people, a commitment doesn't have to be involved. So These are the things that we really have to address, right? All right. So we're gonna go on to our final piece of evidence and wrap this on up. All right, let's get it.
Was Helen Fisher. She's an evolutionary biologist, and she studied marriage patterns, divorce patterns. She believes we're wired for 7 years for serial monogamy with clandestine adultery. That's what she says. Serial monogamy means one partner at a time, but secretly cheating sometimes on the side. That's how she thinks we're wired. And that the average is about 7 years. If you have more kids, that lasts longer, meaning that's enough time for the child to grow up and kind of take care of self, and then you get to, have new children with someone else and vary your genes. It was Helen Fisher. She's an evolutionary biologist.
So there you have it. That's my third piece of evidence on serial dating. And it's funny, I want to show that video because it kind of fits into serial dating, right? Even though that clip was talking about like serial monogamy, right? But essentially, some serial daters, that's what they are, right? Because some serial daters, like we touched on in the research articles, like date one person at a time, right? While others date multiple people at a time. Like, but the key thing is, even if a person is getting in a relationship, right, it's going to be short term for most people, right? Because we know what the marriage rates look like, right? So even if people are getting married, and what he's touching on, even in a marriage, people are cheating on the side, right? It's of my belief that most people are having extramarital affairs in their marriage or a relationship, right? Now don't shoot the messenger. I could be wrong. I'm just saying, as a human species, we have struggled with monogamy. You already know what's about to come out of my mouth next, because monogamy is not natural. That's why we've struggled with it. So that lends itself to why there's serial dating. Okay. Because people struggle with being in monogamous relationships. So serial dating is always going to be a thing. Now it's just more amplified because of the times that we're in. Now you're seeing women who are participating in it more. There's probably going to be a point in time, if it's not upon us already, where you're going to see teenagers, which technically teenagers are serial daters, right? Because they're not really, even though you will see commitments of people in high school, right? But a lot of times it's short lived, right? But that's probably going to become more of a phenomenon. And to be honest with you, I don't see things changing in the future with serial dating, because with the amount of options that people have out there, it's just going to get harder and harder for people to want to settle down at an early age or even in middle age. And I think that's why the struggle is so real with middle age dating, because that's really where a lot of people are talking about. Why is it so hard 35 plus for people to date? And the reason why it's so hard, because you shouldn't be on the market in the first place. You need to find your love young, build, okay? That way you have that investment where it's less likely that you would leave. Even in the mix of cheating. Yes, I said it. Okay. Even in the midst, And sometimes some people take it with the grave to the grave with them. Their partner will never know that they cheated on them. It kind of is what it is, right? We're human, right? We're animals at the end of the day. People don't like hearing that, but we are cold-blooded. All right. All right. That's another episode for you today, man. Hopefully you took a lot from that, man. Once again, I will always say this. I appreciate y'all so much, man, for rocking with me. We continue to grow, man. So please keep supporting, keep checking out the video, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want me to make a case on anything. Definitely either hit me on my handles or, get in contact with me through my websites. All the links are always going to be in the description. If you want to do a one-on-one with me or a couple session with me, rcdconsultancy.com. That's where you can hit my contact page and let me know what is it that you need from me. And then we'll move forward from there. All right. As always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. Remember, the worst thing you could do is lie to yourself. And I think we made that case, baby. All right. Deuces. One love.